circa or that era. What was that? Oh,
So
being recorded
in progress.
Well,
Sorry,
that's
I'm
an
just
easy
recording
way
the
to.
meeting. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, sorry, it prompted me like I was under interrogation here, so that's good. So that bridge actually, what most people don't realize is we actually didn't replace the sidewalks there, and the bridge was really just a rehabilitation contract. And so we scarified the top of the sidewalks. We couldn't remove the sidewalks in their entirety because there's actually a number of conduits that go through the sidewalks for hydro, telecommunications, and so forth. So under the bridge contract, with it being a rehab, we just scarified the top, and we actually doweled in on the sides. We tried to widen as much as we could on the sidewalks, recognizing the structural integrity of the parapet walls and the beams and girders. So we tried to widen the sidewalk as much as we can, but we didn't actually remove and replace the sidewalk, which would have been required to lower the curb face any further down from 10 inches. So that was maintained, but we just scarified the top and then widened it to, I think we got another foot, maybe a foot and a half out of the width of that sidewalk.
So you're also
cantilever perspective.
Sorry, we were also told, what's his name? Kevin. We're also told that they're going to add some more asphalt, which would raise it up a bit more too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sorry, no, there's no more asphalt. The existing cross section was maintained through the rehabilitation, and you can't simply just add more asphalt to an existing bridge structure without doing a complete reassessment of the structural beams and girders. And so that wasn't part of the scope and not part of the work, but the consultants say that's not the solution to address the curb face. You literally have to take it right down and lower it and remove it. And early on in the design stage, that would have been $1 million. It'd probably be more like 3 right now. But so that's just the context in terms of how high they are because of the conduits that are in there and the scope of the work that we've done.
Hey, Kevin, the other question I just wanted to ask you was, apparently we were told that there was going to be a bike lane there. So if a child did fall off the sidewalk or a person in a wheelchair, they wouldn't be falling into a live lane of traffic. Am I correct in that, or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're correct, Fred. It is there's 1.5 meters bike lanes being introduced along that corridor. So you'll have a center left turn lane.
That's what 12 feet, right? You're talking to old school. That's what 12, right?
Yeah, it'll be 10 to 12 feet.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I learned everything in foot and inches and pounds and
yeah, so 5 foot bike lane. And we're actually continuing that cross section all the way through. You'll see some recent changes to Main Street. They're starting to obliterate the lines, and they're converting that from 4 lanes to 3 lanes with on-road bike lanes as well, just to improve the connectivity of some of the existing bike infrastructure, and then expand where we can, and hopefully have a fully integrated system once we come through with River West as we move easterly.
Okay, so there's a question coming up here. So basically, if a person in a chair or a stroller, or if a kid happens to fall off that sidewalk, they're not falling into a live lane of traffic.
No, there's actually 5 feet at least. There's probably more, to be honest with you, but there's at least 5 feet of bike lane before the oncoming traffic there. You're right.
Okay, you had a question, I can't remember.
I've got lots of questions.
Vic.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Vic. First of all, I want to say I'm a person with a disability, and I'm on a scooter. I go down to the beach quite a bit. And the first thing I'm going to bring up, there's 3 or 4 items here, so bear with me. The first thing I'm going to say, if anybody, it's almost like a one-way street with 2 different people going up and down there. Now, anybody with a stroller, a bike, either I have to wait at the beginning or the end of the bridge before I take off to go across the bridge. So it's very, very, I see it all the time that I run into it. Either I have to wait, sometimes I have to pull right over to the edge on my scooter. And sometimes if somebody's on the bike, they actually take their bike and put it and go onto the road with it, which is dangerous. Now you're saying there's a bike lane, so that may absolve something. I just don't understand with the amount of traffic that's anticipated, especially with the redevelopment that's going to happen down there, why nobody widened that sidewalk. You know, I just can't see, like, even if you go down through the weekdays, forget about the weekends. You've got people going both ways, and we're not in summer isn't here yet, where people are renting cottages and walking to the beach, and you've got that traffic going both ways on one side. That's
Right.
that's the first thing that, to me, I just don't understand that. The second point I want to bring up is you talked about you talked about having this bike lane, but I still say, because it's an 8-inch strop, it's a double concrete like sidewalk, so it's 8 inches. So you see a lot of parents with 2 or 3 kids, and they're coming back from the beach, and the kid is tired, and they're walking along, and all of a sudden, if they fall, now I don't know, you say that the bike lane is going to be pretty wide, but I still say it's a dangerous problem because it's a high sidewalk. They're not going to fall standing up. They're going to be falling one way, head first. So I again, that's another thing that I have a concern about. And I've got solutions for both of these things I've talked about, but I also have another concern. When and if this bridge is done, especially on the weekends, there's going to be lots of traffic on that bridge. Now, if a ambulance or a fire truck is called, they're not going to be able to get through. And that's another factor. So here's my solutions, or at least recommendations for this, okay? For the sidewalk, I really believe, first, the number one thing, I really believe that the town should put a barrier there. For no other reason, even if one person falls this summer, you don't know what's going to happen to that. And it will probably be a kid, okay? You don't know what's going to happen to that kid. And to me, I don't know what's going to cost, and that's on both sides. That would be my number one solution, my number one recommendation. And then as far as the sidewalk itself, what I would like to see, because as I say, people can't get through, people are jumping down, people are giving you dirty looks because you're riding a scooter onto the bridge, is have one part of the sidewalk go one way and then have the other sidewalk go the other way. So in other words, you have a one-way side on both sides. So that would eliminate a lot of traffic of people trying to get through. Excuse me, somebody pulling real close to the side and giving me like that look, like, what are you doing on here with the scooter? I'm telling you, I really believe what I'm saying here, because I go down there a lot, and it's during the weekend or the weekdays. And it's not July yet. I'm sure when all those cottages are rented and people crossing that bridge, you're going to have lots of problems. And even if it's one person or one kid falling off that sidewalk, we don't know what's going to happen. And it's worth some kind, I say maybe a 4-foot nice railing going across there so that nobody can fall off. Maybe an adult could, but it would be pretty hard. So that's my recommendations for that. And as far as the ambulance and the fire department, they should be made aware that if they're coming to the beach, especially on weekends, that they got to find an alternative way, because you're stuck there. It's not that you can pull over anywhere. So those are my 3 recommendations. And as I say, I still think, especially once they finish all the development down there, and you're gonna have all these people living there, and people on condos, and people coming to the beach, and they got different activities, you're gonna get more traffic, and something's gonna have to happen, because that bridge can't accommodate all the people. But that's something for the future. But right now, for the record, the 3 things I'm recommending: the barrier, so in case somebody falls, have one way going this way and one way going that way. In other words, have it so that if I'm going out of the beach, I go one side of the sidewalk. If I'm going into the beach, it's the other side. So you've got everybody going the same way, and it's not creating a problem. And also making the ambulance and the fire department aware that maybe when they're coming, especially on weekends, when they're coming there, there's no way for them to get in if they're coming down, and over across the bridge. There won't be. What do you think? Am I on the right track? Does it make sense what I'm saying, or?
So in terms of the width of the sidewalk, as I said, we only scarified the top, and we did actually widen it. But in order to widen it, we had to analyze structurally how much the existing sidewalk could support. So we shaved off the top, we doweled into the side of the existing sidewalk face, and expanded the sidewalk as much as we could, and then built the new parapet wall. So structurally, you have to analyze just how much weight that existing sidewalk can carry. And we went as wide as we could. As I said, it was a rehabilitation job. So we didn't expand the bridge girders. We didn't expand the bridge abutments or the piers.
Yeah, I know
The
that.
bridge width is actually the same as what it was.
That's what I'm
So
saying. It
we
was
tried to
narrowed down.
maximize the width as best we can. Now, if we go back and introduce a handrail, we're losing that width of sidewalk that we've just accommodated. And the fact that we do have an extra 5 to 6 feet with the bike lane, it's not something we're considering at this time in terms of the handrail along there. And then in terms of the challenges with conflict with pedestrians and cyclists on the sidewalk, you're right. Bikes shouldn't be on the sidewalk, and if they are, they should be walking them. Hopefully, with the introduction of these bike lanes, now they will be out of your way and off onto the designated lane, as well as the pedestrians have a more appropriate space to move over alongside to allow you to pass, with it not being a traveled lane, similar to Moseley Street being a traveled lane right beside the road.
Kevin, could we not, sorry, but could we not do where one side goes one way and one side goes the other? That would just be a simple sign, wouldn't it?
No,
Not anybody would pay attention to it, but it's something we could try.
Yeah, you wouldn't get compliance and just posting a sign there, Fred. We wouldn't accomplish anything.
Okay.
I
I'm sorry, Kevin. Sorry to interrupt.
with all due
No, that's
respect,
fine.
Kevin, I disagree. I think number one, if you had the sign, it would serve itself. In other words, if I see somebody coming up the wrong way, hey buddy, you're coming, you can just be on the other side. And not only that, you said, well, it can only accommodate so much weight. Well, what you're doing is you're distributing the weight. If you got one group of people going one way and the other group of people going the other way. And
The
like I
problem
said,
with that, Vic,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, the problem with that is it's not a bylaw. There's no enforcement. So whereas we can post that, we can't enforce it. There's no law.
Arrows on the ground. You could put, like, to me.
No, but I'm saying there's no law that the bylaw officers or the police can enforce that. It's not a law. It's a recommendation. There's not a law that it has to be a one-way. It's not like a street, right? That's a law. You can't go down the one-way street. You'd have to adjust like legislation for that. I'm not saying it's not impossible. It could be a recommended sign, but there's no enforcement. So if people aren't listening to us, we can't do anything about it.
Hey, Kevin,
Sure.
so we don't beat this to death here. Is there any way you could take it back to council or whatever other committee you meet with and see what the feasibility? How does that sound?
It'll have to come out of this committee, Fred. It's not something we're advancing at this stage, but if this is something this committee is recommending through your minutes and resolution, we would advance that to our engineers. And
So we got Laura to write a letter on our behalf. Is that what you'd need?
Well, no, you'd have to put a motion on the floor.
I realize that, but then you'd have to write something too, wouldn't you?
I think it forces too many people to have to cross the street. But if you're coming down the Pedro side,
You will
you
have to
can continue that way. If you're coming from the beach, you continue that way. Then you're forcing people to cross the street more. And
Yeah,
I think that's
I know,
probably more
I'm
dangerous.
trying to figure out a solution here to try and.
No, I understand, but I think you're forcing too many more people to be crossing the street, which is probably worse.
And I know anyways, when the kids start drinking, they really don't care where they walk.
well, you
I mean,
may
that's-
also come across challenges from businesses where now they're not seeing the pedestrian traffic in both directions. They're only
I know
getting it in
that.
one direction versus the other. And it's not and I'm welcome to look, if there are examples of communities that have done this, we'd certainly look into it. It's not a common measure of implementation because it will not get followed. Like the reality of it.
Well, also, again, all due respect, if something happens, even one person or one kid, the town could be in trouble as far as being sued.
Well, the only problem I have, Vic, and I'm not trying to dampen the parade here, with railings. And I know when I was younger, before I quit drinking, if there was a railing on a sidewalk and traffic going by, we'd hang on the rail, we'd lean over the railing and have a drink. And
Well,
that could even become a bigger issue on the sidewalk if people start loitering around the railings and shooting the shit and looking at traffic. And when you're younger, you're not that smart. I know, I didn't smarten up till I married Michelle.
Anyway, I'll
So-
say it again. I'm a firm believer the town is taking, going down a dangerous path by not having some kind of a railing there, especially for young kids. They're, and who's pulling a wagon, who's, with all their beach stuff on there, who's got it. It's not just the bikes, Kevin. That's what I say. But if you've taken care of maybe some of the bikes, but as far as that, there's still other things. And even sometimes, you have a family of 4 or 5 people, they gotta go in single line.
Well, unfortunately, Vic, from what Kevin's saying is the sidewalk can't be lowered, the road can't be raised. The sidewalk can't be taken up because it's got all the electrical and telephone stuff in it. And I don't think the town's prepared to spend $2 or $3 million on it. And
Right.
it's like, I always say one thing is when kids drown in the beach, why didn't the mother put a life jacket on that kid? When they're walking on the sidewalk, why didn't the mother hold that kid's hand? I mean, that's
Fred,
just,
all due respect, I didn't say any of that stuff. I said to put a railing and have the traffic going one way and the other. That's all. And to me, it's a simple solution. And
Well-
it's going to save a potential big accident. That's what I'm saying. So you both raising, it's too late to do that. I understand that. But to me, by putting that railing there, at least you did one thing. Even if the kid was to climb over it, at least the town has done its due diligence to try to keep the kid from falling over.
but Vic, what's to stop someone from sitting on that railing and then falling backwards and hitting their head on the side? I mean, there's,
Brad, you're giving a lot of examples. First of all, how are you going to determine how high that railing is? I can't tell you
4
that.
feet, someone
4
can
feet,
sit on it pretty
5
easily.
feet, I don't know.
So sorry guys, I know there's both sides to this. I know Kevin has kind of said, probably my concern with the railing, Vic, while it is a good idea, is right away, Kevin says it will take up the space we just expanded. I would hate to take out space, whereas now we've also added this kind of extra buffer as a bike path in case someone steps down off the road. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, yes, a barrier might be beneficial for safety, but now we're taking away space from somebody crossing in a wheelchair or in a carrier or whatever.
Or that's a good point, but just resolve that. I told you, I still believe that we should have one going one way and one going the other. And it should be facing the traffic. So if I'm, like, in other words, if I'm on that side, I should be, so in case one kid was to jump out, I can see the car coming and I can grab the kid.
So the way it would work, Vic, if you would like to put a motion on the floor for the committee to address that with the, what is it, Kevin, the engineers or the public works?
Council first, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would something that have to go through coordinated committee or whatever committee this reports to. I guess it developed general government.
General government, yeah.
Okay, well.
Yes, would you like to put a motion on the floor to, I mean, if you have a supporter and we vote on it?
I guess I would, of course, yeah. Because I'm really thinking we're in big trouble if someone was there.
Okay, so Fred, if you don't mind, I'll just say, so Vic has put a motion on the floor to refer this to general government to review for the inclusion of barriers and one-way traffic flow. Does he have a seconder for that?
So a seconder? Hello?
So seeing nobody second, then, John, you second that?
No, I'm not seconding it. Can we separate the motion, please?
Sure. Okay, so the first one would be a motion to refer back to general government, the addition of a fencing or barricade type structure to look at the inclusion of that. So a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, John, so all those in favor, I need to see both Fred and Michelle for this vote though.
Fred just went to the bathroom.
Okay, so we're gonna have to wait because we need all members voting for that.
Okay. I like the color of your top.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
Trying to bring in summer.
Yeah, really. Oh, I hear him coming. Fred, no, this, we have to look at our
Okay.
vote. and
So
vote.
the vote on the table, Fred and Michelle, and I just need to see both of you in the same screen, is a motion to support committee referring back to general government for the review of the, I don't want to say review of including a barrier on the bridge, either a fencing or a structure or whatever. That's the first half.
So why don't we do all in favor?
Yeah, so all those in favor, I just need to see you both for voting.
Yeah,
Okay, so all those in favor of going back to look into that matter, you just need to raise your hands for me. So we have got Vic, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's carried on a vote of 1, 2, what, that was 4, and then not in favor, Al, Councillor Kinney, Jen. So that's passed. And then the second part of that motion, Fred, was to refer back to general government, to look into designating the sidewalks as one-way pedestrian traffic, one way and coming out the other way. So Vic has moved that, so I need a seconder for that motion.
anybody?
So seeing no seconder, then that motion does not pass.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Vic. Okay, Kevin, now we're gonna talk about the trails.
Yeah, I have literally 6 minutes, but I'll try and push my
Yes.
10:30.
Kevin,
Did you wanna,
I
do
got-
you want-
I-
Did you
I
wanna
can
do it at
speak
that-
on that. Good.
did you wanna do another, come to the next meeting where you got more time?
I'm sure it was
Okay.
just one question about the materials, right, Vic?
It's a very quick question, Kevin. I know they put gravel there last year after someone tipped over a scooter, because over the bridge was about a 3-inch drop. But anyway, and someone came along and put gravel all over the place. Now, I still go on those trails. And what happens is the winter or whatever has washed off a lot of the gravel, or washed it down. So now there's about an inch, inch and a half. And it's usually where the sidewalk meets the trail. That's where it's heaviest, okay? So what I'm thinking, why don't they put something permanent? Like, I don't know, asphalt or something that, it's there and you don't have to worry about it for 5, 6 years.
The problem with asphalt, when I first was on this committee, we went through that, and the backlash from the town was unbelievable. They had a big meeting at the Recplex, and it was like they're gonna cut our heads off. So I would avoid asphalt. Vic,
You
I'm on the, sorry, Vic, Kevin, I'm on the county committee, and we put down we're making all our trails accessible, okay? And we put down, it's almost like tree bark like material, but it lasts about 3 or 4 years and then it biodegrades, so we're not hurting any animals. The problem is when you're doing gravel, if someone falls, whether it's coming off a bridge or just going on a trail ordinarily, if you fall on gravel, it hurts. And what they're doing at the county, it's more of a cushion fall. It's safer, much safer. And we're making all the trails accessible. What you have to be mindful of and be very careful of is this hiking trail committee that runs in Wasaga Beach. Because they're saying with pride that the trails are not accessible. And the town in that area is going to get themselves in a lot of trouble, because I was on that committee for one meeting and I went off it. They cannot say that the trails can't be made accessible because they don't want it. Those trails were not built for the hiking club. They were built for every community member. If you get a hold of the county and find out, or if you want to take a drive when this pandemic's done, you know where the county building is, where you turn right to go up towards Georgia Mall. If you go to the next set of lights, turn right and go down about a half a mile, that's the first trail that we made totally accessible. And I went on it with my wheelchair, and they had benches there. I mean, you don't have to do that elaborate, but they used that material. And the scooters could navigate it, the strollers could navigate it, walkers could navigate it, wheelchairs could navigate it. And if you fell on a cushion. And as I recall from our last meeting, because we're doing more trails now, is they last about 4 to 5 years. And then at that point, they kind of biodegrade down. The biggest problem our committee had at the county level was if we put asphalt or cement, we don't want to hurt the animals. We don't want to hurt the wildlife. We don't want to hurt nature. And asphalt leaches shit out. It's pardon my expression, but it's not safe. So we wanted to lay something down that was safe, and we researched it, and that's the solution we came up with. So, you know, if you've got a time one day, you go to Barrie on a Saturday or Sunday, like I said, as soon as you pass the county, you know where you turn to go on 26, whatever it is, to go up to Georgia Mall. You got that Max Milk, that plaza on the left side. At that set of lights, turn right, and the trail's about a half mile on the left. And you'll see the material they're using. And it really is much safer, better than gravel because it's not washing itself away, better for the animals, better for the environment. And I think that's the direction maybe the town should be looking at. But you're setting a dangerous precedent when the hiking club is telling people they don't want the trails accessible. And, you know, like I said, the town called me last year, asked me to go on the committee. I was on it once, and when I was so mad, I didn't say nothing to anybody. But when that girl looked up at me and smiled and says, they're not accessible, they're not gonna be. I was furious. I could have ripped her through my iPad.
Are these trails within the provincial park, Fred?
No, they're county.
No, the trails that they're
I don't know
claiming-
what trails, the only, I don't go, I tried to go on a trail once and I fell and I haven't gone on it since. They're town trails.
Because a lot of people get confused with the natural trails through the provincial park from
No,
the
these are
limestone screening trails that we have predominantly within the municipal lands.
No, these were the town trails they were talking about. It was about a year ago. I don't remember. I was mad. So I just kind of put it back out of my mind. But, you know, like if Vic fell or if I fell or if a kid fell or an older person on a walker, you know, gravel hurts. And that's why at the county level, we went away from gravel. Because like Vic said, it washes itself away. It's something you got to replace every year. You got to send someone in every year to fix it. Or with the material they're using, as I recall, we haven't had a meeting in a while, but as I recall, 5 years. So anyways, that's, you know, you got to go, but I understand what Vic's saying. From what we went through on the county trails, we wanted to stay away from asphalt because we did not want to hurt the environment or our little animal friends.
I'll follow up with the county. I would have assumed they may be just applying wood chips, but to me, that's not.
It's like wood chips, but it's not wood chips. I can't remember what they called it. It was quite amazing because we went through 4 or 5 different things and that's what we decided on.
Kevin, Fred brought up a lot of good points, but what I was referring to was when you enter from the street onto the trail, right now, especially where there's sidewalks, there's at least an inch and a half washed away. So when I go over I still get the thunk noise. And not only that, if you go at an angle, you still possibility of flipping your scooter. So to me, it's not too bad where the bridges are. It's for the most part stayed there. But if you go wherever the sidewalk meets the trail, it's washed away. At least an inch and a half, and it's still spring. It's a wash away even more. That's where I'm talking about putting something permanent so you guys don't have to do it every year.
Yeah, and certainly if there's specific areas, Vic, that you have in mind, let us know. Certainly there's an opportunity to put an apron there behind the sidewalk. You may still find some challenges with material washing away from that hard impervious surface butting up against the limestone screenings, but we can certainly look at that and try and rake that out. But the guys do a pretty good job to get out in the spring and back drag the trails and do what they can to make them more accessible. So we'll keep an eye out.
Okay, why don't I leave it? You got to go. It's 10:32. Why don't I leave it that Vic gets in touch with you and you can talk to him about what the trails he's talking about. And
Great.
if you want to check out any other material besides screening.
Laura, you have this information for me to contact you?
Yeah, Vic, if you want to send me an email, we can coordinate with Kevin.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, everyone.
Kevin.
Thank you very much,
Have a
Kevin.
good meeting.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye now.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, now, new business. Are we at them now? Mr. Ron Spina? I can't hear you.
That's me. Hi,
How you doing?
not bad. How about yourself?
Not bad.
Good late morning, everybody. Thank you for asking me to come back. We presented the design, I guess, about a month and a half ago,
Yes.
for the new facility, and you asked us to go back and look at a few things. And the design team did go back and looked at a few things. And I'd like to present to you what we've done since then. Specifically, there were 3 items, and I will share my screen in a minute. But before I do that, the 3 items that we looked at with your own engineering department and planning group, as well as the architects, were to add some more accessible parking spots in the parking lot. And the second item was to try to accommodate a washroom, the appropriate size for a scooter. And then the third item was to present to you some of the accommodations for accessibility in the millwork in the various rooms. So I believe those were the 3 items, Laura, that I was asked to go and look at.
Yes.
If I've missed anything, just let me know. And from these conversations, we can take back to look at those things again. But I think we've done the best we could to accommodate them. And I think, Laura, what I'd like to do is then I'll share my screen and walk through it.
Of course. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay.
And every time I see those Smarties, I feel like having some.
It's the piggy bank. It's not real.
I know. Every time I love Smarties. Every time I look at it, I gotta get Smarties.
Here, I'll cover it up.
That's okay, Laura. I was just making you laugh.
So if everybody can let me know if they are seeing the screen that I am sharing with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use a hand. Can everybody see the hand?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the hand to try to describe this. And if I'm going too fast or you can't see it, please let me know. So what I want to do is I just sort of walk you through what we've done, starting with as if you were parking your car. That's the way I presented the last time, as if you're parking your car and you're walking through the building. So I'll start with the site plan, then I'll walk you through the floor plans, and then I'll walk you through room by room the accommodations that we've made for accessibility for the millwork. So I'll start with this one, and this is the site plan drawing. The last site plan drawing I showed you showed 7 accessible parking spots. The accessible parking spots are indicated by pink. Just to reiterate, we've got 2 parking lots. Basically, we've got one where you see my hand on the east side. The building's in the middle of the site, and then we have one on the west side. And then through basically the middle of the building, going from east to west, we have a lobby. So we have 2 points of entry. We have one entry on the east and one entry on the west. Pretty straightforward. And we've been able to add 2 more accessible parking spots from before. We had 7 before. We're providing you with 9. We had to balance out the minimum requirement for parking spots according to the zoning bylaw for this property, with trying to provide as many accessible parking spots as we could.
Okay.
What we've done is we've increased the parking area a little bit so that we could do that, add those 2 extra spots. And what we've also done in addition to that is we've actually widened out the drive aisles by approximately 1 to 1.5 feet, so that we also would make driving a little simpler in the parking areas. So I'll stop on this item right now to answer any questions.
So we've gained 2 Smart. I know. Well, that's thank you.
Ron, how come only, like, what is the problem, like, to give us additional accessibility space? Like, I don't understand. Well, we kind of gave you a lot of case scenarios to say, you got 99 parking spaces and you're only giving us 9 accessibility. Like, what is the problem that you can't do more now and get it right versus, 2 years from now, you're gonna have to rip up the road, you're gonna have to do all these different things. Like, what would be the excuse not to have more parking space, accessibility spaces?
Well, uh, first off, it's a pretty tight site. So we were trying to balance out fitting the building on the site with also providing the number of parking spots that are required for a building of this size based on the occupancy in the building. So we were balancing that out with whatever space was available to still accommodate as many accessible parking spots as possible. We looked at possibly getting rid of some of the green space along River Road to find more room for parking, but the committee that I report to felt that the solution that we're proposing here balances out the green space with the minimum number of parking spots as well as accessibility. We also were constrained on the north side of the site because there's a storm pond up here and we had to take care of stormwater in that pond. So Vic, we were balancing out all those items to try to find the right balance point for parking.
Okay, well, Ron,
Pam's looking to say something there, Fred.
go on.
Hi, thank you through the chair. I think that the main challenge is it looks like we have a lot of parking spots, so we could take up more for the accessible areas. The problem is getting those people safely to the building, and that is where the challenge lies. Right where they're located, there's a nice safe crossover. If we add more accessible spots as we head north on this site, we're encountering the laybys for the driving, and then you start getting a little far north for the people to get to the doors. So that's the problem with the site, is that where would you put more so that people can safely traverse from the accessible sites into the building? It's not that we don't want to have them, it's just it's getting them safely in and out that is the big challenge, I think.
What I was gonna say, Ron, is we've gained 2 more spots. Why don't we see after everything is built to see, like, we get a lot of complaints that we need more accessible spaces. Maybe we could create them, because it'd just be a matter of moving the lines aside, like painting new lines, putting the handicap symbol down. Because I guess council doesn't want to keep beating this thing to death and taking it back and forth. I thought that was a swimming pool. I didn't know it was a drain sewer, like
Through you,
water.
Fred. Sorry, I was just going to say it is very possible. We've done that here recently at Town Hall. Remember when committee thought, let's take a look at the spaces here. We added that bonus one. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's a good start. Not only have we met the minimum requirement, we've now added 2 more.
Yeah.
And if we're really seeing a high demand and need or something that's not working, I don't think it's impossible to go back to do a site plan review of spaces.
Because we got nice,
Ron?
we got spots now, Laura. Where do we stop? We want 20, we want 15. What I think we should do is let it go the way it is. This is my personal opinion. The committee can make their own decision. And once everything's built and up and running, if we find there is a heavy need for more accessible spots, I've seen it done before. They just widen the spot and paint down a handicap symbol. It's not rocket science. But to keep sending it back and forth, I'm sure council wants it dealt with. And I think gaining 2 more spots, they came back with, an offer, and I think we should just see what happens now. That's my personal opinion.
So I can add to that. So I'm not going to put it like technically to add more spots, meaning changing some lines. If you see where my hand is, changing these lines here to accommodate accessible parking spots is not difficult to do. However, I would agree that we're untied to a tight timeline to get this out to tender in 5 weeks. And we go out to tender and then see how the building operates. And I would assume that at that point, if you want to make some adjustments to it, then there's a whole process that you can make those adjustments in the future.
That would be my recommendations. Like at the main end, we increased the handicap parking spots because we needed them.
Yep.
And that would be my suggestion, rather than going back and forth. Like you said, it's got to go to tender in 5 weeks. So to me, if I could have a motion on the floor, it's just to accept the accessible parking spaces we have now. I think that's the route we should go right now.
So if we let, like, I do have a what's the word, culminating or altogether motion prepared for it, Fred. Once he goes through, and if everybody's in agreement with all the stuff today, then there's a 1-over motion. So if we want to let Ron go through it, and from there, if there's any issues, we can work on that, if that works for you, Fred.
Knock yourself out.
Okay, so Laura, can I go to the next slide then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So does everybody see a different slide now?
Yeah.
It's probably pretty small because this is really hard to present on a screen like this. However, I'll do the best I can to walk through it. This is the ground floor, and we haven't changed anything on the ground floor from the previous meeting. The only thing I wanted to show you is, once again, where we added those 2 parking spots, where you see my hand, that we added those 2 parking spots so that, going back to Pam's point, so that we felt comfortable that it created a clear path for people to get into the building. So if you follow the yellow sidewalk and watch my hand, it's as straightforward as we feel we could get to get you into the building. We think it's a safe pathway. Okay. And I guess my question is, are there any questions on this? Besides that, this drawing has not changed since the
Okay,
last time.
the only question I got, the doorway, they're going to be automatic opening?
Yes,
Or are they be push button?
those are actually automatic doors, and they're sliding doors.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Go on.
I have one. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Ron. It wasn't specifically in your list of 3, but I know the last meeting we had considerable discussion on it. So I'm going to raise it again because you said the ground floor has not changed at all. I'm still really concerned about that hallway to where the major bathrooms are on the ground floor in terms of congestion in that hallway, in and out. Whether you're talking about people in wheelchairs or scooters, or even just people going back and forth in both directions. When you've got, in hockey arenas, I mean, people don't come one at a time. They come when periods end and when, practices end, and they come in bulk. And I just think it's going to be terribly congested in that area. So I just want to put that as my opinion again, if for nothing else.
Well, I can only say that, and I don't have the designers here, but the designers have designed that hallway based on the other facilities that they've designed. That is not the hallway that we're suggesting for the scooter. We're suggesting that the scooter washroom would be on the 2nd floor. So I'm not sure if that helps answer your question. I can say that for the facilities I've worked on, that's a typical width of any hallway I've seen.
What's the width of it, Ron?
This hallway is 4 feet, approximately 4 feet wide.
Okay.
Let's say you've got a lineup, Fred, what I'm talking about, and if you got a lineup in that hallway, as you often do outside female washrooms, because that's the way it is, and you've got someone in a wheelchair trying to go down there in either way, in either direction, 4 feet. It's just going to be a major congestion area. I see it that way.
It's so small, I can't even see it. What hallway you're even talking about?
I'll show you which one it is. I'm blowing it up right now.
And I'm wearing magnifying
This is-
glass.
This is the hallway right here, if you see my hand.
Okay, what are those dots there?
I'll apologize. That's a 5-foot wide hallway. Each of those dots represents 5 feet wide.
All right, so it's 5 feet.
It's a 5-foot hallway.
Okay.
Pam, did you want to add to that?
If I may, I know that this is the major washroom area and that is one location for one of the universal washrooms, but there are other family as in single washrooms located close to the pro shop. So those people do not have to traverse down that hallway. If they do not need the universal washroom, they can use one of the single washrooms by the pro shop or come into the library. We have 2 single washrooms. And then of course, the other major universal large washroom scooter size is upstairs as well. So there are other options. I understand that it can get possibly crowded through that hallway, but there are other options that people can also take advantage of.
Just the only, sorry, the only other
traversing.
question. The only other question I got with John is looking at that hallway that goes up towards the arena and the rinks, right? What's to stop kids from throwing, bags and sticks on the ground and making it more congested? Or are kids not going to use that entrance? They're going to use another entrance.
Well, I guess all I can say is that becomes an operational. All I can say is, the 5-foot hallway here, and as Pam says, there's other washrooms. As you can see my hand again, here off of the main lobby. There's accessible washrooms here in the library.
The entrance here, looks like there's an entrance, where the 2 rinks are, right? You come down a bit, right there. Is that an
Yeah.
entrance coming into the arena?
This is an entrance right here coming in the arena.
Oh, okay, so that's what I was asking. So kids would come in that way and not the other way, right?
Kids would come in right through this entrance here where my hand
Okay,
is.
so then they really wouldn't be dropping their bags down there. Okay, that's what I was trying to find out.
Okay.
And you got
And-
2 entrances, one I can see into the rinks.
We have this entrance here, which is on the, 2 entrances onto the rinks here and here.
Okay, all right. That answers my question. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Okay, Ron, you want to move on, you can.
Okay, I will go up to the 2nd floor. So on the second floor, we have an elevator here that takes you up to the 2nd floor. And what we've done is we've created a washroom here. If you see my hand, and that washroom is 8 feet wide and roughly 12 feet long for scooter accessibility.
Okay,
And that's new since the last time you were here, right?
That's well, there was a accessible washroom there before, but we've enlarged it
Yes, correct.
since the last presentation.
very good, thank you. And where would the viewing area be when the people in chairs want to watch any game or anything like that?
Well, you can see where my hand is here.
Yeah.
That these are all viewing spots here.
Oh, okay, and the bathrooms are nice and close.
And the bathroom is right here.
Yeah, okay,
So it's right very close along this walk pathway.
okay. Because the arena on the right side, that's the one that's got all the stands in it.
That's
And
correct.
on the left doesn't have any stands, does it? So that looks good. Okay,
Okay.
Anybody got any questions for Ron on the 2nd level? What?
I don't know if it's finished.
Well, are you done, Ron, or is that it?
No, I'm now going to go to millwork.
Millwork.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I will close this. just bear with me. I'm opening another document. Okay, everybody, please let me know that you are seeing
Yeah,
a page that says millwork. So this is, they call it millwork, also known as cabinetry. So we've been asked to come back and make a presentation on some of the design adjustments that we can make to accommodate the accessibility for the various rooms. So I'd like to walk you through the rooms that the designer has gone back and made these changes. This is all to meet AODA standard. So I'm going to start with, this drawing isn't going to help you because all it tells you is where the millwork is. It doesn't tell you accessible millwork. So I'm going to show you the rooms that we've made accessible for the millwork. So the first room is in the lunchroom. And if you look at the yellow highlight, if everybody's looking at this page, we've provided for a spot underneath the sinks for accessibility. I'll
Yeah.
stop here for any questions.
no, I understand that because we went through that with the county of some of the county arenas. So if you're in a chair, you can scoot under there and still use the sink.
Okay. So Laura, am I okay?
Where is this in the building?
This is the lunchroom. This is on the main level, John. It's basically adjacent to where the main reception desk is.
Okay, so mainly for the library folks, I guess.
This one is mainly for the rec staff.
Rec staff, okay. All right,
Okay. Laura, am I okay to go to the next slide?
Yep.
Yes, yep.
Okay. This slide is first aid. We don't have accessibility in first aid in the cabinetry. In the concessions area, and this is the servery side of the concessions area, there's a counter, and then we've provided underneath the counter accessibility.
Ron, on the first aid one, you're gonna put Sharpie containers in there, right?
Sorry, what kind of containers?
Sharpie, like people with needles, insulin.
I'm assuming they would be doing that. Yes.
But I don't see, you'd have to put it on the wall by the sink, and if you can't get into that sink, you got a door there.
Yeah, that'll be more the operation, like the staff will put that kind of stuff in, Fred, like health and safety requirements, all that kind of stuff.
No, what I'm trying to say, Laura, if a person's got to inject themselves safely, and this is an issue because I'm a diabetic, and I've gone into many bathrooms trying to inject myself. I do it in food courts now because the bathrooms are so filthy, and I'm not opening up a needle where I can get a bacteria transmitted into it because you've got to get your needle, your insulin, and everything else ready. So if they took that out and made that first aid room a safe injectable site, so a person could go in there, give themselves their insulin, and then wash their hands after. That's all I'm trying to say. All you have to do is move those two doors and put a Sharpie container in.
So, Laura, did you?
Well, I'm sure that's something that can be, maybe we can make a note so that when I know we're approving the architectural kind of stuff, and that can be something that we can talk about to add into the room when it's kind of there. I'm assuming.
If they don't, Laura, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. What I'm trying to say is they should make that sink accessible like they did in the lunchroom. Don't put.
Well, is this a public room or is this a?
Well, it's gonna have to be, it's a first aid room, and if a person has to give himself insulin, he has to be able to go in that. It has to be made a public room for that case.
Well, sometimes they might not be able to get there, right? They probably could do it anywhere, but I know what you're saying.
Like I gotta almost take my shirt off to do my insulin. I don't like doing it in public, and it's not fun doing it in the bathroom. All I'm trying to say is take out those two cabinets under the sink. So a person in a chair, which I'm in an electric chair now, can get in there and safely wash his hands.
Mhm.
This is an ongoing battle. They do safe injection sites for people that take drugs. you got to start looking at safe injection sites for people that are using it for medical reasons, diabetes, like any other medical reason. It's just not diabetics that have to inject themselves. There's other people. And it's just a simple solution. Put a Sharpie container against the wall, take the doors out so the guy can get up and wash his hands. That's it.
So maybe we can make a note back to Pam or Ron.
That's all I'm
talk
saying,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah, Pam's just nodding her head there. So maybe she's on the committee, Fred. So maybe she can just make a note of that to the committee.
All I want to,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I just, a bathroom.
Oh, it's a
is,
good point of view.
you know, when you stick a needle in your body and you're in a bathroom and it's filthy as hell, you don't feel like doing it. So you wind up doing it in public. Okay, sorry, Ron.
No, that's no problem, Laura. You know, Pam, you make the notes. I mean, once again, technically, this is not difficult to do. You just make the notes and we'll take it back to see if we can do it. I understand we just, you know, make underneath the sink accessible and remove those doors and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's
So,
simple.
Okay. Thanks for that comment. I'll go to the. So this is it. Once again, this is the concession area. This is the pass-through window. There's a counter here, and it's all accessible underneath the counter.
Okay.
Okay, we're good, Laura?
Yep. I will just make a quick note though. Jen, I think you said you had to leave at 11:15, right? And once Jen leaves, because we lost Vic, we're not going to have quorum. So we're going to have to stop the meeting if Jen does leave. I'm just letting you guys know.
Okay.
Okay. This is concession millwork. So this is all the back room. This is also, now we're in the multi-purpose room kitchen. That's on the main level. And in this room, in the kitchen area, we also have a pass-through window here. You see my hand, and below the pass-through window, we've provided an accessible counter.
Okay.
And you can see in the floor plan here, this is the accessible counter here. And this is the pass-through window, and out here is a multi-purpose room. Okay, Laura? We're now in the office area, which is on the main level, adjacent to the main reception desk in the lobby. We have a sink in there also, and we've made it accessible below the stainless steel sink. As well, we have a transaction counter, and it's accessible underneath that counter too.
Sorry, Ron, just to correct you, this is the second floor. This is a multi-use office space that community use
sorry,
as well. So
yeah.
that's why the sink is there, so that it can be used for various things. So any sorts of groups, people can get involved in signing people up through the door. So it's accessible for that. And then if there is hand washing needed, that's accessible as well.
Oh, thanks for that correction. Yeah, level 2. Okay, Laura?
Yes.
It's accessible.
We are now at the reception desk, the main reception desk off the lobby on the main floor. And for the public, when they come up to the reception desk, we've provided at the end of the reception desk an accessible surface area where somebody in a wheelchair can pull up underneath it.
Oh, you really thought of all this out.
Really good.
You did a really good job.
Any questions there?
No, you've done a really good job. You really thought this all out.
Well, thank you. We're not finished yet. I hope we're going to continue to meet your requirements here. Here's the library now. So now we're at the main service desk in the library. This is, if you see my hand, this is the area for accessible area underneath the counter. This is the main counter. And also inside this area where you see the chairs here, we've also made it accessible for staff.
Wow.
Any questions there? No? Laura, we're good?
Yes.
You're doing a really good job there, Ron. This looks nice.
I don't think I've ever seen.
I've never seen something this accessible in
Yeah.
a long time.
Thank you. So we have a second service desk, and we've also done the same thing there. Once again, accessibility for the public, if you see my hand, and accessibility here for staff.
Wow.
Okay, Laura?
Yes.
Now we are inside the library. We're still working through, it's called a niche, which is an area that's been cut into the building. The point here is that we're still working through signage, the type of text for the signage, and that's going to come later. And we're currently in the process of putting together signage packages.
Okay.
Okay. This is also in the library. This is a self-checkout table.
Yeah.
And we've also provided accessibility beneath the self-checkout table. So we've done made the same provision, got a countertop cut underneath it for accessibility. We're now in the library in the learning lab, which is this room over here. We have a double sink in the learning lab. We've done the same thing underneath the double sink. We've provided for accessibility.
Wow. And those are the doorways in the corner, right? They look pretty wide.
I'm sorry, which doorway are you looking at?
If you go up towards the long wall, not the cut-in wall, but the long, yeah, put your hand over there. Yeah, right there. Is that a doorway?
That's a doorway. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty wide. Wow.
We're making them. I don't remember exactly. It's either 3 feet or 3 feet 4.
Wow, that's a good size. Thank you.
Okay. This is the program room, also in the library, and it's the same thing. We have a double sink here, and accessibility there. And this room has a double door going into it. And once again, this is the library, some of the niches I spoke about. And we're doing some furniture layouts as well as, of course, as I said before, we're taking care of signage. So, Laura, that's the end of my presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Ron. I'm not sure if I speak for mostly everybody, but I think that looks awesome, and you guys have put a lot of work into that, and you know, from where it started to where we are now, it looks great, and I think we're all excited for things to get going.
And as chair of the committee, Ron, I'll ask if any committee members have any comments, but that looks like really good. It's really accessible, and the town and your committee should be proud putting that together.
I think it's great.
So has anybody got any questions? We can move forward with this, I assume?
If nobody has any questions, I do have a recommendation, but we'll just ask one more time. Pat or Al's good, Jen's good. John, you're good? Okay, and Councillor Kenny, any questions on your end? You're good? Okay, so then Fred, I don't know if you have your agenda there. I do have a motion in that package. I can read it if
Oh,
you
I don't have it, so if you want to read it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So the motion I have for committee is that they receive the update pertaining to the new Arena Library project for information, and further that the committee supports the Arena Library project as proposed at this time. So that means that the Arena Library Committee would get a recommendation from us saying that committee is happy with, you know, the accessible qualities and aspects and the overall project. Everybody, you know, there's support from committee.
Sounds good. Any
We have a mover and a
motion?
seconder for that one.
Michelle?
Oh,
Is the
you'll
mover?
move. Michelle will move and Jen will second. Does that work?
Okay. Yep. All in favor?
Yes.
All right, Michelle's in favor. I don't see her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, she is.
Oh, yes, I am. I have never seen a place with so much accessibility. It's great.
Thank you, Ron.
No problem, Fred. Thank you.
You're welcome. Laura,
Yes.
I just want to bring this up in case, I think Jen has to leave, you said, right?
Yes. Before we just carry on, are we good with we'll let Ron and Pam carry on their busy days?
Yeah, no,
With
we're
that?
good.
Okay,
Wait, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you so much, guys.
you're very welcome. Have yourself a good afternoon.
You too, Ron. Thanks, Pam.
Okay,
Take care.
thank you.
Okay.
Bye
Bye-bye.
for now.
This, okay, Laura, this question is going to be more directed towards Councillor Kinney.
Okay.
Mark, now that I'm in a power chair, I find that the traffic lights really don't give people enough time to cross. And I've never noticed it before. But like the one on Ramblewood, by the time you get halfway through the street, because it's a bit of a down, you got to go down slowly before you go on the road. When you get halfway across the street, it starts counting down. And before you get to the other end of the sidewalk, you're already at the flashing red for cars to start running it down. Is it a big deal to bring it to council or anything to get the traffic lights to stay green? Like we push the button, but to stay green a bit longer.
I can ask Kevin what the current programming is. I know those guys, the Public Works Department, sorry, they do the like flashing lights, signals, chiming, all that kind of stuff. They have like a person that does the studies and the setting for that. Obviously being a police officer, I'm sure former police officer Mark will have a little more information, but I don't think we need a council motion for that. I think we can definitely ask Kevin, but maybe I'll let Mark jump in.
5 or 10 seconds, Laura, is all. If you could add another 5 or 10 seconds to that.
Sure, let's let Mark jump in first.
Order across the street to get across safely.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, that's the lights at Ramblewood?
At Ramblewood, and then you got that big one that goes from, when you cross over to go to the Esso, when you go over to Tim Hortons and Shoppers.
Oh, okay, so 45th.
Those
so
lights
the lights
are
at
long.
Ramblewood and 45th, and the lights at
Yeah.
Ramblewood and Mosley.
Yeah, like another 5 or 10 seconds would probably be ideal. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Okay.
So, national
Mark was going to touch
accessibility.
base for you though, Fred. Sorry. Councillor Kinney had a comment on that.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Mark.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, no, all I was going to say was it's a Kevin question because Public Work regulates the lights, and I'm sure there is a prescribed times that are involved, but I think it's a question to Kevin and how they can modify it, because I do know that for a traffic calming technique, the lights at 32nd Street change on their number of red lights that they run through during, when people come home and when people go to work. There seems to be a lot of mysterious red lights that show up just to stop traffic, and then nobody moves. So I'm pretty sure Kevin can answer those questions and help out the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Just so I'm clear, it's the time to extend the walking or the actual green light?
The walking.
The walking light, okay.
The walking light. So when a person's crossing, like I said, Ramblewood and Knox Road is bad. And the one where you cross over by
45th and Mosley.
Yeah, those are the
Yes,
two ones.
okay.
And that one's a big intersection.
Perfect, I've got both.
Okay, I'll leave that with you in your trusty hands, Laura.
You got it.
All right. So National Accessibility Week is May 30th.
Well, we skipped over one there.
And do you want to talk about that, Laura? It was May 30th.
So before that one, sorry, was just I included, because we talked about it at the last meeting, I showed you guys a little picture and a map of all the accessible spots, so everybody knows what we do have at the beachfront. For information, I am going to get it on the accessible town page in case anybody's looking, and under the parking section that should go up this week.
Okay. Thank you, Laura.
National Accessibility Week, yes, is this week. Happy National Accessibility to everybody this week. The town, the mayor and Councillor Kinney and myself did a flag raising due to the stay-home order. We didn't recommend or invite that you guys all come in just for the safety of everybody, but we did do a flag raising and proclamation on Monday. I think it was, Mark, right? Monday. And I do have the proclamation here. We posted an ad on Facebook. I also linked a couple things that John did provide to me, and then a link to the accessibility page for the government and the agenda. So anybody looking can go to those. I know it was a little bit harder this year for a lot of communities to do some events. Some did some virtual things. Some found obviously the current situation to be a little more challenging this year, but again, the town notices it and recognizes it, and you part of your guys' job here every month is acknowledging these and finding ways to, you know, to beat them. So thank you for all you guys and everything you do.
Well, I'm gonna be optimistic here and say that next year we can all do something. We're all gonna be safe and healthy and everything's gonna go back to normal. So I'm gonna be the optimist here.
I like it.
All right. The other stuff, Mark, did you want to do your update before Jen has to leave?
Sure, Fred, I'll make it really, really quick.
I'm good for another 10 minutes, so.
Okay, then I can slow down. Just an update on the community improvement plan. I haven't heard any further update on that, but I know staff is working on it because the last time I talked to them, they were. Beach Area 1 redevelopment was given to Slate and Associates as far as the developing of Beach Area 1. I know they've put together some interesting ideas as far as what they hope to establish. And honestly, when we saw their presentation, they are fantastic. They seem like a really good organization to work with, and one I think all committees in the town can work with. My initiative as far as going 40 kilometers an hour through town did not go through. However, I know that the staff are working forward to giving us a second report with regards to photo radar and how that could impact. One of the myths I want to dispel right now is you don't make money off of photo radar. So really it's a safety initiative that the town might be looking at installing across the board. And then finally, I just want to touch on the presentation by Ron and the parking and the accessibility aspect. Laura was correct in saying that, and of course, Fred, so are you, that if we find that there's a need to install more in the future, we can do that. I think what Ron was getting at is there are basic minimum requirements for parking depending on the size and the number of people you have in your facility. And when they start putting in accessibility spaces, although not huge, they do impact on their overall totals. So to do it, depending on how many we feel as a committee we may need, it might need a bylaw or a motion through council to get a huge number. One or two, I don't see an issue, but more than that, just because we have to change the current bylaw, and I don't know how much we can change as far as planning goes, and their legislative requirements. That would be a Doug Heron question. But I just wanted to make that clear that yes, when we find that there's a need at that facility, we can approach it by increasing the numbers. But I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that if there's a lot, then there's a couple other hoops we have to jump through. And as a result of that, Fred, that's my presentation, and I would look for questions.
Mark, the only question I got is, what was the problem with lowering the speed limit to 40? Because I think it's a great idea.
Oh, I personally I didn't see there was a problem. However, what transpired was that it went for a vote through council and it was defeated 5-2. Now, that being said, as a councillor, I can't revisit the question, and I've got to go with what council says because we're a team. Yeah. And I think you understand how a team works, Fred, because you're on multiple ones of those. However, there are other ways the town can look at to make traffic flow safer for all road users. not just motor vehicles.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Any other questions for Mark?
Mark, is the arena library complex on schedule as far as you know?
My understanding, Al, that they are, both Pam and I'm gapping now, both of them.
Councillor Deputy Mayor Bray is on there.
No, facility manager.
Oh, Chris Rose. Right.
Thank you. I
Sorry.
should know, Chris. But okay, so thanks for adding that name. Both of those have set down very tight timelines, Al. And I know that there's little wiggling room, but not a whole bunch. But to answer your question, they are. And I know they want to get dots, well, the I's dotted, T's crossed, so that we can look at very probably breaking ground in September.
Wonderful.
Great.
It is such a huge endeavor, and everybody involved seems to be really looking at all the aspects. And with the presentation that we got this morning for accessibility, they're looking at every detail, and I think they're to be congratulated.
No, I think they've done a phenomenal job. I agree. So.
Yeah, well, thank you to both of you guys. And I know that the team that's looking after it, the steering team, are working their buns off, because all us around council table realize that this isn't just a building, it's a 50-year building. And it's something that's going to be in our community for a long time. So we're not going to get everything right, but we're going to get as much as we can right.
You're doing a good job. Proud of it.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, Laura.
Yes.
I think that's about all I got. I think we're pretty
just-
well.
Yeah, if Councillor Kinney is done, we can move on. If any committee members have any updates or.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I forgot. I'm in a dumb moment right now. Give me.
No, that's okay. Well, I'm here
I
to help.
had a half a cup of coffee. Come on, my brain's still sleeping. All right. Does any committee members have anything to add? Let's let Jen go first in case she's got to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Just tonight I am doing a forum representing members of OECTA, the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association. I'm doing a forum tonight for members that self-identify as having a disability and looking for recommendations for collective bargaining and barriers to participation. So should be pretty interesting to hear what fellow teachers have to say.
Good.
I think Mark wants to comment on that, Fred.
Yes, Mark.
Thank you, Fred. And Jen, would it be too much to ask that you make a few notes and just kind of update the committee on what you find out? Because it's always fantastic to get different points of views.
For sure.
Aspects. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've even used things we've talked about within this committee and brought them forward to the other committee. So it's a diversity advisory board. We advise directly to the provincial executive. So there's a person who represents persons with disabilities, that's me, First Nations, people of color, and LGBTQ. So we meet and look towards having better representation within our provincial executive of all members of teachers that we have. So that's been our job for the last 3 years.
And Jen, I was watching a program yesterday, and I can't remember what state it was, but they had a graduation ceremony for kids with autism and other illnesses, just for them. And the high school kids did attend, but there were calming rooms, there were calming dogs. It was just phenomenal that they did that. And I think with call back.
It's got Dr. Cott.
Okay, hang on, Michelle.
Sorry. He'll be right back. What were you saying?
Sorry,
Yeah, so it'll be interesting,
case.
and we're definitely taking notes to look at common themes and yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's Fred's heart doctor on the phone.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's important. We'll just pass the chair to John temporary as co-chair in case there's any actions, but we can carry through all the updates still.
Yeah, so someone else can go ahead and update because that's pretty much all I have to say. And I'll just back out in a couple minutes when I need to teach math.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, stepping in, Pat, anything?
Oh, but I was gonna go about 2 days ago. I was really almost ready to go.
Pat?
Oh,
Oh,
Al, sorry.
Oh, it's out. No,
What's
I
this
don't have any-
happening?
yeah, yeah, that's right, John. No real comments other than it's exciting to see the things that are happening because of this committee. How they're able to, how our recommendations have been able to influence what's going on in the town, and so I think it's a valuable committee that we're all part of, and
Agreed.
I'm proud to be part of it.
Thanks, Al.
Sorry, I'm back. It was a dog.
And I have nothing to add personally. So.
Nothing from John. We did Jen, we did Al. Councillor Kitty did an update. Michelle and Fred, anything on your end?
Well, it's just when Jen goes to this meeting, I really want to make sure that the kids that have autism and other issues, that they're well represented, because autism is becoming a big issue in Canada. I think we're the largest population in the world with autism.
Every year I've had at least 2 to 3 students with autism in my class out of a class of 20. So you can see how high those numbers are. And that's diagnosed. There's obviously some that are still undiagnosed.
Yeah, but we're the largest country, I think, in the world with kids with autism, with a study I was reading. So the only thing I got to add, Jen, is, I'm proud of you. Can you please make sure that kids with autism are well represented, because there are a whole bunch of different levels of kids functioning with autism. And they're important to be included as much as people in wheelchairs and scooters and walkers. We have to make sure our kids are looked after to have these illnesses as well. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks, Fred.
Thanks,
Michelle?
I think if we jump on here, we can kind of finish the unfinished business. Town hall elevator obviously is still a standing item. Nothing's changed there yet. Ramblewood, I know I put it on unfinished business, but I got an email yesterday from the property manager, and he is pleased to advise that they've just added 2 more spaces after our committee's recommendation. So they were happy to do that. We've got 2 more spots there, which I think is a bonus. It's great. So thank you to you guys. And I know that Vic really kind of championed that one too. So I'll let him know in a separate email, because he did tell me he's having internet problems. Mark, I know you said you didn't have an update. Did you want to just push over the accreditation initiative? I know you had asked me to put on the forms for everybody to review. Did you want to see if anybody had feedback on that, or do you want to?
Laura, sorry, one question I wanted to bring up. Are we going to replace Bruce, or are we going to wait till the end of the term?
So remember, we had commented, since Michelle was an alternative anyways, we still have the amount of people we need, so we don't need to replace that. Michelle would just move into a full-time.
Okay.
Yeah. So Councillor Kinney, over to you. Did you want to touch base on that this meeting, or?
Okay, Laura and Fred, I'm just happy if everybody could just take a good look at this, and because we're running, well over your hour, Fred.
Yeah,
and
you're breaking my record.
Yeah, no, and I take sole responsibility for that. And take a look at it. I know Al and Kevin have worked with me on it.
They look great.
And what I need is just thought process so that we can bring this to the forefront and try and get it running this fall. So if people can put their hats on for the next meeting, and then we can have some space and dialogue to talk about it, that would be great. Thank you.
Perfect. So everybody wants to review that, and I'll carry it over to the next meeting for now that you have those sheets. I know last meeting we talked about them. Now you have them. Let's review them. If you guys want to put the thought process and stuff and or any feedback, and on the next meeting we can let Mark know what we all think.
Sounds good to me. And
thanks to Kevin and Al as well for doing all that work too. They look great from what I was reading. But items for future meeting. Does anybody have anything to add in at this point?
No, I don't have anything, Laura.
No, I think we kind of touched on that.
I think we should call for adjournment.
Sure. Next meeting, July 8th at 10 a.m. If anything changes in terms of I think we'll still be electronic. I think that'll be for the summer anyways, but I'll let you guys know when that changes. And then other than that, Fred, that's all.
And when we do start meeting again, we're gonna meet over at the town hall, right?
Yes, we switched to this location. We did, yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
All right, Jen, you can go. Get out of here.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a great
bye.
day.
Thank you,
Have a
Laura.
good weekend, guys. Don't
You
party too
too.
hard.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.